This is a bit confrontational, but let's go ahead and dive right into this.
Whiskey 9 Yankee 7 November Golf, over.
The short answer here is yes, they absolutely can. However, it completely depends on your evidence. The problem is a coach is going to charge you an insane amount of money, sometimes thousands to $10,000 to $15,000, when in reality you can just do it yourself. I'm going to give you a scenario and show you exactly what a coach is going to ask and recommend for this disability claim. Let's say you have these disabilities. You have tinnitus at 10%, lumbar strain at 10%, and knees left and right at 10% each. And you've also deployed to Afghan, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, somewhere that's PACT Act related. The first thing a coach is going to do is look at increases, because these are the easiest types of claims. Tinnitus is maxed at 10%, so let's move on from there. Lumbar strain at 10% could be increased, and it depends on your range of motion. So has your range of motion decreased? When you bend over or side to side or bend backwards, when do you start to feel pain? Depending on how you answer those questions, I would recommend an increase for your lower back. The question is, do you submit the increase and let it be, or submit the increase with a completed DBQ? For your knees at 10% each, this could be increased as well. Personally, I would recommend you speak to your healthcare provider, and if you can be prescribed an assistive device like a brace or a cane, then submit the increase for 20%. Once increases are finished, we're then going to move on to secondary claims, and secondaries are where the money is really at. Looking at tinnitus, common secondaries are migraines and anxiety. So, have you been diagnosed with migraines or anxiety? If not, can you get a diagnosis? If so, I would most likely recommend an IMO and DBQ for these conditions. You can submit these without a Nexus and rely on a C&P examiner, and then if you're denied, consider the IMO and DBQ. For your lower back condition, do your legs ever fall asleep? Do they go numb? Do they tingle? Are they ever in pain? If so, I'd recommend seeking healthcare and asking about nerve damage in your legs. An X-ray will show sciatic nerve damage, and that is an extremely easy secondary claim. I would not recommend an IMO or a DBQ for this. If your lower back condition is severe, like you have IVDS at 40%, I may ask you if your lower back condition causes you to be depressed. And if so, that might be something I'd recommend an IMO and a DBQ for, looking at depression secondary to your lower back. Lastly, your knee conditions. Knees can receive 2 ratings for flexion and extension. That might be an option here. As far as knees causing ankle and foot conditions, it's possible, but you will need a strong opinion, whether that's from a C&P examiner or private. Adding up the increases in secondaries, and we're going to lowball these conditions here, you were at 36% rounded to 40, and with the increases, let's just say you were only able to increase your back to 20%, which brings you to 43. With the secondaries, again, we're going to lowball them. Let's look at migraines at 10%, anxiety, depression at 30%, and then radiculopathy at 10% in each leg. Your total is now 72%, rounded to 70. This makes looking at increases in secondaries absolutely worth it. If we were to play around with these same ratings instead of lowballing them, let's change migraines to 30% and anxiety and depression to 70%, you are now at 91%, rounded to 90. And we didn't even look at PACT Act presumptive conditions like sinusitis, rhinitis, asthma, bronchitis, or IBS, and you're pretty close to, if not 100%. Increases in secondaries can absolutely increase your VA disability rating, but all of this has got to be based in hard medical evidence. I am a fan of IMOs and DBQs, but I would only recommend them under these 2 conditions. 1, you've been denied, and 2, you have the evidence so the provider can make the nexus in the first place. I would also look at my provider through the VA or through your private insurance if they are able to complete an IMO and DBQ prior to going outside. Do not pay a coach thousands of dollars. It's absolutely not worth it. If you don't know where to start, send me an email at TheCivDiv@gmail.com. Everything I do is free, and that's what I base this channel on to begin with.